The Media Center for Art Education and Technology, a service of the Monterey County Office of Education, along with the Herald Live, presents PrepNation. Now to your hosts, Dave Kellogg and John Devine.
Welcome to PrepNation. I'm Dave Kellogg alongside John Devine. Well, it's boys basketball season and some interesting things are happening at Alvarez. John, you tell me, last year they were 16-11. Won a CCS playoff game, got into the second round. They were looking for big things this year, but then a few off-season changes.
Well, I think they still are looking for big things this year, but yeah, they went into last year or this year thinking, wow, look at this team we're going to have, based on the off-season. Everybody was coming back, or so they thought. 2 kids transferred to Seaside, 2 kids transferred to Salinas. One of them hopefully will be eligible in January, which will help the Cowboys a lot, but it depleted them.
Yeah, I mean, 4 guys, 4 potential starters, right? 4
potential starters are no longer at Alvarez. That being said, Mark Haddon says, hey, you know what? We're all right. Don't feel sorry for us. Mitchell Wood is back. He's a 6'7" post. He's got a couple of sophomores that are up playing really well. And the one thing he told me today, or on Tuesday, was that he thinks the chemistry is a little better right now. And granted, it's early in the season. We're 5 games into the season, but they've got some chemistry going, and they're undefeated.
5 games into the season, 5 wins.
Yes.
So what is Haddon doing there? Why does he have the magical touch?
Well, what he's done is he's changed the philosophy a little bit. He's gone to more of a defensive-minded attitude in terms of what the team's doing. He talked about when he arrived there a few years ago, they were getting beat 60-30, 70-30. So he decided, we're going to learn how to play defense here at Alvarez. We're going to be a little more fundamentally sound. And it helps having a kid like Wood, who at 6'9" is a menace in the paint and can drop 3-point shots. So they've got a little bit of offensive flavor as well.
How's their schedule look from here on?
They have
before they get in the league. Yeah,
they have the potential to start the year 8-0 going into that Palma tournament right before Christmas. I mean, you look at who they're going to play, and again, anything can happen. But the start they've gotten off to, I could see them starting the year 8-0, and that's no surprise, Dave, because for the last 5 years, this program has started 4-0 or better.
Why is that? Why are they able to start so quickly?
Well, it could be the schedule. I mean, Mitchell Wood told me today, he didn't want to disrespect any of his opponents, but he said, we haven't really played a team, a high-quality team yet, a team that you expect to win a title. And he's anxious to see what's going to happen when they run into a team like that. But as he mentioned to me earlier, we got a young team, and we're learning how to win, and we're building confidence at the same time.
So they could run into that competition at the Palma tournament.
Oh, absolutely. I think their first round game is going to be Davis, and it's a team averaging somewhere in the range of 80 to 90 points a game up there in the Sacramento area.
Oh, okay. And the Palma tournament, that's Christmas?
December 20th through the 22nd, so it's still a ways away. So they've got another 2 weeks here, or a week and a half.
Let's hear what Mark Haddon had to say about Alvarez's quick start.
Our quick start, usually, we've had quick starts before. This year, we're really, I guess, wanting to play a lot of defense. When I first got here, offense was kind of the name of the game because Alvarez was averaging probably 38, 40 points a game. So we wanted to bring it up closer to 60 points, and we did that. And now the last couple of years, we've been trying to put a lot of emphasis on defense, and I think maybe that's gotten us off to a quick start.
Now, Mark, you mentioned quick starts are obviously nothing new here at Alvarez. For the last 5 years, this program has started 4-0 or better. But this is virtually a brand new squad this year. Are you surprised?
A little bit. I am surprised. Because we have a lot of sophomores that are getting, in fact, my starting 2 guards are sophomores off of our freshman team from last year. So, it's kind of weird to get a quick start when you got 2 sophomores starting, and probably the first 2 off the bench are sophomores too as well.
Yeah. Now, 4 potential starters transferred in the off season. 2 of them were all leaguers. That would deplete most programs, but you feel pretty good about where you are right now, don't you?
Yeah, we lost some real good talent, and everybody's going to say that, and that is true, and sometimes you wonder what could have been, but we've moved on. We knew we lost the Turners at the end of last year, so that was something that was a reality. So we just decided we would move on, and whatever we have, we're going to try to develop into a team. And I think team chemistry is something that doesn't really play out a lot. A lot of people look at potential players and how good they are, but team chemistry in basketball is super important. And the boys are really playing together, well. They're looking for each other, passing well, and again, defense also wins well.
Sure, yeah. Now, Mark, you have a diamond on this team in 6'7" Mitchell Wood. He had a nice year last year, came on strong at the end of the year, but it sounds like he did a lot in the off season.
Yeah, Mitch worked hard all off season. He was taking trips down to the Los Angeles area where he played for Branch West. Bob Gottlieb is the head of that program, and a lot of people know the name Bob Gottlieb and his son Doug that's on ESPN and so forth. But Bob runs a great program, and Branch West actually this year, their top team beat, I think, the Oakland Soldiers, which even LeBron played for them a few times. So they're a top-notch AAU team. So Mitch put in a lot of work. He's improved his three-point shot. I think he's got more confidence. His inside game, his defense, I mean, just everything all through his whole game has improved.
Right. Now, I've counted 5 sophomores on this roster. Obviously, you brought them up to play, not sit. Will this be kind of on-the-job training this year for you guys throughout the course of the season?
Some of it will be. Like I said, the 2 starting guards are sophomores, and you know, they're well beyond their years of being a sophomore. I mean, actually, Edric Gamble I brought up last year for the playoffs, and he did well in both playoff games. And the other one, Jesse Carrillo, he's just a super smart player. I don't think they'll be on the job for him. He's a real smart player, and probably one of the best on-ball defenders that maybe I've had since I've been coaching.
Wow. When you look at the Gablin division, I mean, it's deep. I mean, it's 7 deep, really, when I look at it. I mean, where's Alvarez in the mix with this?
I think we're right there. Obviously, you got to put Palma and Hollister kind of at the top. Because Hollister's got, I believe, 4 out of their 5 starters back. Right. You got to put Palma there because they've won the league so many years, and of course they got Noah Allen. So everybody knows about Noah, super good player going to UCLA. But not just him, Jack Power. Sure. You know, they have so much coming back as well. So those 2 you got to put at the top. Seaside, I believe, is going to be very good with our Turner boys, and I think that they're right there with them, and I think we can be there. We've got a lot to learn, and a lot of in the off season here. I mean, in the preseason, we've got to work together and get our defense the right way, and I think we can be right with a lot of the teams, right in the thick of it.
Right. Once upon a time, this guy scored 65 points in a game when he was at Alisal. Thanks, Mark.
Wow.
So, John, you've talked about Mitch Wood being such a talented big player. Where was he last year?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. He was there last year, and he quietly averaged about 11 points a game, but he was a little overshadowed. They had 4 other guys on that court last year that were pretty talented playing in the game, and he kind of evolved a little bit. Where Mitch has gotten better at those in the off season. This kid went down to Los Angeles, trained in a camp for a little bit, and his game is just gotten so much better. I mean, he's not just a big man in the post now. He can jump out, he can shoot the 3-point shot, he can defend, he's got deceptive quickness for a big man. He even told me he likes to run the point sometimes. So he's a well-rounded player right now, and this is, I think, a big reason why Alvarez is off to their 5-0 start.
So he's developed his game more in the off season. Has he grown at all? Or
yeah, 2 inches.
Oh, really? Okay, that'll help.
Yeah, but you know what I like about him also is I like his leadership. I mean, he's got a young group around him, and the kids, I think, look up to him a little bit, but he doesn't. He comes out there and he leads by example, and I think the kids are kind of following him, and we're seeing it with some of the younger kids, Edward Gamble and Jesse Carrillo, these 2 sophomores. They don't play like sophomores.
Do you see him playing at the next level? I
do, and he says he does too.
Okay.
I don't know where yet. He told me that he hasn't gotten an offer that he likes right now. But again, as he mentioned to me, this is kind of an audition over the next 2 or 3 months. I mean, he did that in the off season and got a few people recognize him when he was down in Southern California. But now he knows it's game situations. How does he respond, particularly when they get in the league play and hopefully the postseason?
So would he be one of those guys who's kind of a sleeper for universities looking for players? They have their A list, but they also have their sleepers that they'll take a risk on if they don't get their A guys.
Absolutely. I think he's flying under the radar right now. He's averaging about 18 points a game. I mean, we're not known as a basketball mecca here.
Right.
I mean, we've had Orlando Johnson and now Noah Allen in terms of kids going out and getting full ride scholarships. He could be another one. I mean, and when kids do fall off, other programs, I mean, he might jump on there.
Okay. Well, we talked about Mitch Wood's leadership. Let's hear what he has to say about the situation at Alvarez and the changing lineup.
All right, Mitchell, you closed last year with a strong finish. You guys won a playoff game. In your mind, there's at least four potential starters coming back, at least you thought. 3 of them transferred. How frustrating was that for you coming into this season knowing they're not going to be here and what could have been?
It was pretty frustrating, but I know all the guys and we're really close friends, and I talked to all of them, and I could understand their situations and the reasons, so that made it a little bit easier. Like, it wasn't like they were just turning their back on us. So it was frustrating, but you have to move on and just look at it positive.
Sure, yeah. Now, where is this team 4 games into the season? I know you're undefeated right now, but in your mind, are you ahead of schedule or a little bit behind?
I think we've yet to been tested. Out of our 3 of the first 4 games, we played Greenfield, Alisal, and North High. And I think if we would have lost any of those games, it would have been a major upset. So I think we're yet to be tested.
Okay. Now this program has gotten off to fast starts in the past, but how important was it this year maybe to get off to that quick start, particularly with all the youth on this team?
Yeah, like you said, with the youth, it's really great to get wins, especially when you're young. Just seeing to start out 4-0, it's really exciting, and I could see the confidence building.
Yeah, no doubt. And I was going to ask you, what's impressed you the most about these young guys coming in and stepping in and filling holes so fast?
The way they play on the court really impresses me. Like, I'll forget that they're sophomores, and then yeah, it's just they're amazing. They act way beyond their ages for sure.
Okay. Now, Mitchell, what did you do to step up your game in the off season? I mean, you had a nice season last year, but you're averaging almost 18 points a game. It's 7 points more than you averaged last year.
The main thing I did was I hit the weight room a lot, and now that I'm the oldest on the court, I feel like more confident and just worked hard every day in the gym.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the target's on you. I mean, you're the big guy. Everybody knows about you. It hasn't worked so far, but contributions are also coming across the board, aren't they?
Yeah. I just try to fill my role and not do too much, and we just try to run through the plays and really work as a team, which I feel like we didn't do so well last year.
Now, I know you're a post, but your coach was telling me earlier that you like to shoot that jump shot.
Oh yeah, I like to play every position for sure. I like to go out on the top and run the point and then post up. Really just like to play all around.
Now, when you look at the Gatlin division, Mitchell, obviously Palma, Seaside, San Benito, all these teams are loaded, but the whole league from top to bottom, 1 through 7. In your mind, where's Alvarez in the mix, other than the fact that you're not going to lose a game this year?
Well, I think we'll be among the top 4 or 5 teams, but we just need to take it one game at a time and take every game serious.
Yeah. Hey, before we get out of here, I know you've got some college aspirations. Do you feel like you're auditioning right now, or did you do that in the off season?
I do feel a little bit like I'm auditioning because I haven't really got an offer that I've liked yet. So I just try to play hard every game, but yeah, it does feel like a little bit of an audition.
You will be playing somewhere next year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we got this year still, and a lot of season left for this young man. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's early in the season, but looking around the rest of Monterey County, any surprises out there, John?
Yes. I say that because the schedule sometimes you don't know who's playing who yet. I mean, there are teams that schedule teams to get off to good starts, and there are teams that schedule more of a beefy schedule and take their lumps. I'll use Pacific Grove as an example.
Yeah.
Over the last 4 or 5 years, this team has gone, 1-6, 2-8. They're 0-4 right now. I mean, Coach Dan Powers does this every year with the intent of it building up his program for when they get into the Mission Trail Athletic League, and it's worked. He's been in the playoffs every year he's been there. They've won 4 of the last 6 league titles. But people look and say, what's wrong with Pacific Grove? Well, nothing right now. I mean, he does have some injuries, and that hurts too. But when you play a Palma or a Colfax, you're going to take your lumps early in the season. In terms of teams that, though, have gotten off to hot starts, Alisal's 4-1 right now. And, last year they didn't win a league game.
Right.
So I think Alisal coach Jose Gil went out and said, you know what, we're gonna find a way to win some games early in the year and build some confidence and see where it goes like that. Pajaro Valley, who's in that Pacific Division of the NBL, they're off to a 4-1 start. They won 2 games last year.
John, looking at scores from throughout the county so far in this early season, who's impressed you?
Well, the usual cast of characters. I mean, we knew Palma was going to be good, and they're off to a 2-0 start. I mean, I think the difference this year for head coach Paul Leotti is he's got his players in practice. I mean, in the past, Palma
Too bad for the football team, huh?
Well, yeah. But I mean, last year they didn't get everybody on the court till December 3rd or something like that, and they really weren't in basketball shape until January. He's got these kids out 2 weeks sooner. Noah Allen didn't play football this year, so he's in remarkable basketball shape right now, and it shows he had a 36-point game in just 3 quarters.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they had a big win over Colfax, is that what
Yeah, they were very impressive in that win, and you know, they're off to a 2-0 start, and I just like the makeup of this team right now. I mean, they're just in a little better shape. They're healthy, and I don't think we're going to wait till January to see Palma at its best.
What about players looking good early in the season?
Well, we mentioned Noah, of course. I mean, on his way to UCLA, I think that says it all right there. But Chris Russo at Monterey High, here's a kid that was in the shadows a little bit last year of Stephen Dorsey and Brandon Hansen from Monterey. He's on his own this year, and it's no surprise he's going to get the ball yet. He's dropping in 25 points a game through the first 3 games. You know, they have another kid on a team, a familiar name to some people, Carter Aldretti. He's only a freshman, 6'2" freshman. His dad didn't have that height.
And we're talking about the baseball Aldrettis?
Rich Aldretti, yes.
Wow.
And his sister is Annie. But I mean, he's on the varsity right now, and he's a shooting guard, and he's playing really well. And I thought baseball was his best sport. I'm hearing basketball might be his best sport.
That'd be a change for the family.
Yeah. One other name to look at is Joseph Delk at Salinas High. He's been asked to carry the load early in the season until they get everybody in place, and he's looked very good as well for Salinas High.
Okay. You ready to touch on girls basketball?
We could.
Okay. Who's any surprises, or who's looked impressive out there?
Well, Christopher's looked really good for the school up in Gilroy. You know, Heather Stewart, who had spent a few years at Stevenson and took them to 3 league titles. She's at Christopher right now, and I think they're the best team in our southern region right now. I really do. Notre Dame, going to play defense. I mean, they're going to hold teams to 30 points or less. It's not a pretty looking way of playing basketball, but it works. They won a TCAL title when John Given came back last year after his 5-year retirement. And North Salinas is off to a 4-0 start, and they're dominating opponents right now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
How's their schedule?
Well, that remains to be seen. But you know, we talked about how they had 5 freshmen on that team last year. That Fab 5 are sophomores right now, and 3 of them are really playing really well right now. I mean, they're a team I think that could come out and do something when league play rolls around.
So they could be really improved and very strong once
very athletic.
Once they get their experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're playing well right now. And again, one thing Darren Jackson has done over the last few years, he has a real balanced scoring attack. And if you look up and down their sheet, I mean, you've got girls going from 11 to 5 points a game, 6, 7 deep.
Wow.
You know, the one thing I'd like to see North High do is shoot the ball a little bit better. I mean, they shoot about 35% from the field, but they're getting 70 shots a game.
Wow. Is they so up-tempo, or?
They're up-tempo, and they dominate on defense. And now if they convert some of those shots, they may score 100 points this year.
Wow. That'd be something, huh? Hey, what about soccer? We haven't touched on soccer so far.
No, we haven't, and they're going to go on a little bit of a hiatus here during the Christmas break and then get into league play. But Stevenson girls, for starters, defending league champions, a team to watch. I think Stata Catalina's coming back. It's a team that, for the first time in I don't know how long, didn't make the playoffs last year. I think they'll be back. You look over in the other league, Salinas, which made the playoffs last year for just the 2nd time. I think they're a team to watch in the Gavilan division. Cynthia Camacho, they had a game-tying goal against Alvarez, who's a team that's playing really well right now as well. It's balance. I mean, and girls anyway. When you look at the guys,
well, let's back up on girls. Didn't you mention to me Carmel's girls team has looked pretty sharp?
Well, Jordan Atade has looked really good. I mean, she's had a hand in 13 of their 16 goals this year, 10 goals and 3 assists. So she's a talent in the 2nd year at Carmel now.
Power. So she's just a sophomore?
No, she spent her first 2 years at Stevenson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, did. So she's a player.
Now moving to boys soccer.
Okay. Al Sal again. I mean, this team's you know, they've been amazing. They are 25-0-5 in their last 30 regular season matches. I mean, they lost in the playoffs last year, but they're undefeated at this point right now. They're in that Gold Cup this weekend up in Oak Grove. I mean, they play some talented teams in the preseason as well. Alvarez is off to a good start. They're off to a 4-0 start. So their program's on the rise a little bit as well. And Salinas is another team to watch, I think, in boys soccer.
So what makes LSL, they've traditionally been a power, what makes them so strong in soccer?
You know, you mentioned a tradition. We talk about Palma football, 30 straight years of playoffs. Well, this is LSL soccer. It's just it's a tradition there. It's probably the most popular sport there. And, you know, there are brothers that are coming up now that had brothers 5 years ago, you know, that were on this team. And so they kind of watch and they learn, they grow, and they just come with the program.
Wrestling. We talked about it last week.
We did.
Any updates there?
Well, we had a couple of champions over the weekend. I'm just going to say Mr. Manzer from Palma won heavyweight division. He actually beat a kid from King City in the Madera tournament.
Oh, okay.
So we had two locals battling for a very prestigious tournament. And I'm going to butcher this guy's name. I don't know how to say. I'm just going to say his first name, Keaton, at Pacific Grove. He won a big tournament down in Irvine, as did his teammate Ivan Pena. Pacific Grove's got a pretty good wrestling team, as does King City. I mean, we talk a lot about Palma, and of course San Benito and Gilroy are loaded in wrestling. But King City and Pacific Grove are two programs. King City beat Monterey the other day in wrestling. Yeah. So these are two MTO programs, smaller programs, but programs that are ranked in the CCS right now.
Well, making some noise. Moving on to college basketball. CSUMB women have won 2 straight after losing to San Francisco State to start the month of December. Tommy, have the Otters turned things around now?
Yeah, I think so. I think that loss was just kind of a blip on the radar. These last 2 wins, they were by double digits. They look pretty impressive. The game against Academy of Art, they kind of played a little bit more up-tempo, which was getting a little bit more toward the Urban Knights style of play. But I think that's an important thing, that this team, they can play fast or they can play slow. They can, you know, go half court or full court depending on their opponent. The more recent game, it was 51-38, so it was a little bit of a slower paced game, but they showed that they were able to shut down on defense, which that's really the key to this team. If they can play good defense, they're going to be in most of the games. The one loss at San Francisco State, they did play good defense, but what happened is just it was really poor shooting and turnovers on offense for the Otters, and that kind of shooting I don't think is going to happen very often. It was an off night for them on offense. So I think they have, I wouldn't even necessarily say righted the ship. I think it wasn't really necessarily a big issue to begin with, but Renee Jimenez, after that loss, she's definitely been grilling her team, and she said that it was embarrassing for them, and she's going to use that as kind of flame for the fire for them moving forward.
Has she been grilling them offensively or defensively? Or both,
well,
a little bit of each?
They played pretty good defense in that game. I think it was more just, you know, more than anything, I think she's just telling them, you know, this was a blow to your pride. This is a blow to this team's supposed to be ranked #1 heading into the season. So I think she's just kind of using it in that way to let them know that for themselves that isn't really acceptable, that they
Personal
should,
pride,
they should feel like they should be able to do better than that.
Playing a little bit up-tempo against Academy of Art, do you think that helped unstick the offense a little bit?
Yeah, that may have helped a little bit, running up and down the court a little bit. That always helps when you're not as stagnant, when you can get those fast break points, and the layups are always a little easier when you're getting into the paint instead of taking the jumpers as much.
So now, speaking of stagnant, the Lady Otters are on a break for a little while. What are they going to be doing over this holiday break?
Yeah, that's right. They will have a little bit of time off for the holidays, and then they have finals coming up, so they're going to be doing some studying.
Academics, yes.
Yeah, definitely. That's always important. But Coach Jimenez did say that she's going to be working the team pretty hard as well. They'll still be practicing for a good portion of the break. And one of the things she told me that they're going to be working on is some of the bench players that haven't been seeing as much playing time. She's going to try and get them to that level where she feels that she can insert them for as long as she needs to.
Okay. Where she feels comfortable with them on the floor, huh?
Yeah, at least on the floor for long periods of time. She may feel comfortable with them on the floor now, but maybe not where she can just leave them in there for a good portion of the second half or something if someone's in foul trouble. That's a big key for this team as well, is their depth, and I think that's something that she wants to make sure that she can take advantage of heading down the stretch.
Now the men's team started out 3-2, but they've lost 4 straight since then. What's going on there?
Yeah, they've been struggling. They've had 3 of the 4 losses were really close games. They only lost, none of those did they lose by more than 5 points. So they're close. They're not too far off. Brandon Cole's been really strong for them on offense. He's averaging nearly 11 points a game. I think it's just something where Mainly, they probably have to try and finish a little stronger, but it always helps when you could start a little stronger too. Some of those games, they put themselves into a little bit too big of a hole where they're able to dig out of it, but then they got it close or tied, but then after that, the other team kind of took it back. So there's going to be those swings back and forth in basketball games. So if you can build up a little bit more of a lead early on, or at least not as big of a deficit, it'll help you out in the long run.
So the men's team closes out the non-conference season on Saturday against the Academy of Art. We talked about how the women's team really the offense caught fire against the Academy of Art. Are the men looking to do the same thing?
I think they will. Academy Art is 2-5, so at least the record isn't all that scary for them, but they have played a pretty tough schedule. Those 2 wins are both against teams that CSUMB has lost to. The Urban Knights beat both CSU East Bay and Holy Names, which both of those games were close for CSUMB, and I think that they feel coming into this game that it should be close as well, but it's still a work in progress for them, and I think they're hoping they can try and get it together as soon as possible. But of course, coming off of last year where they only won 3 games the whole year, they're still improving, so there's at least something to show for it.
Hey, moving on to community college basketball, how are things going at MPC?
Things are going pretty good for the women. They're off to a pretty solid start.
But they are 5-3, and
yeah,
they're hosting their own tournament this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. This Thursday at 8 o'clock for those night owls, they'll be playing Mendocino.
Okay.
And that tournament will be going on through Saturday, and then the men are also going to be playing in a tournament, but they'll actually be up in the South Bay. They'll be at West Valley. Okay. The men have struggled a little bit more. They're 3-6 right now. So they'll be looking to try and turn around the season before they head into their league play at this tournament.
When does league play start?
Their league play starts in January.
Okay. That's it for Prep Nation this week. Like many of our teams in the area, we're going to be taking a short holiday break, a couple weeks. We'll be back the second week of January. Until then, have a great holiday, and we'll see you back on the fields and the courts of Monterey County.